The film opens by showing a man drifting alone in the middle of the vast ocean. He survives on a small floating raft, surrounded by an endless span of blue water. The man's name is Allison, a Marine from the United States Navy. The submarine where he served had been attacked by the enemy during the Pacific War, and he was the only one who managed to survive. For 7 full days, he struggled to stay alive in the open sea without food or strength, relying only on rainwater he collected just to survive. Exhaustion and loneliness nearly pushed him to despair, until one morning he spotted the faint silhouette of land far in the distance. With the last bit of strength he had, he paddled the small raft toward it until he finally reached a remote island in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean. Although his body was weak, he felt slightly relieved because he had finally set foot on land. While exploring the island, Allison discovered a small village that appeared quiet and abandoned. The houses there were empty, with no signs of life whatsoever. He kept walking until he arrived at an old church that stood among the trees. It was there that he was startled by the sight of a woman calmly sweeping the church floor, as if the place was still being used for worship. The woman was dressed entirely in white and looked gentle and graceful. Allison froze for a moment, shocked to see another person on such a remote island, especially a young woman. The woman herself was startled by Allison's presence, but after learning that he was an American Marine, she became much more at ease. With a soft voice, she introduced herself as Sister Anila, a nun who had also been stranded on the island. Anila then told him her story. She had once been part of a religious mission in the Fiji Islands. But when the Japanese forces began attacking and hunting down missionaries, many were captured and executed. She survived only because she managed to escape to this island. At first, she wasn't truly alone. With her was a priest named Father Felipe. But the priest passed away only 4 days after they arrived. From that moment on, Anila lived alone, surviving through prayer and her belief that one day the American forces would come to rescue her. Even though she knew that hope was incredibly slim, since the South Pacific was controlled by the Japanese at the time, she still chose to believe. After hearing her story, Allison felt determined to help her.
I'll go for that. This.
Good night, Mr. Allison.
He planned to build a raft using the rubber float that had once saved him in the ocean, so they could leave the island together. Fortunately, the island still had plenty of plants and fruits they could eat. Day after day passed, and the two of them grew closer. Anila's gentle nature and unwavering faith slowly made Allison, who was tough and not very religious, begin to learn the meaning of hope. One day, Allison asked why a young woman like Anila had chosen to become a nun. With a calm smile, Anila answered that she did it out of pure love for God. Sometime later, while they were walking along the beach, Anila noticed a sea turtle swimming near the shore. Allison used the moment to teach her about survival. With makeshift tools, the two of them tried to catch the turtle, and after an exhausting struggle, Allison finally managed to pull it onto the sand.
Fun.
They then cooked the turtle meat and ate it together. For Allison, it was a small victory in the struggle for survival. Meanwhile, for Anila, it became a lesson about how harsh life in the wild could be. Several peaceful days passed until one afternoon they heard the sound of an airplane in the sky. When they looked up, both of them were shocked to see a Japanese aircraft circling above the island. Allison quickly grabbed Anila's hand and pulled her into a cave among the large rocks to hide. That night, they couldn't sleep, worried that the airplane might have already spotted signs of life on the island.
Even an old Marine like me. Nothing to be ashamed of. It's all over now.
Their fears were proven true the next morning when a sudden explosion shook the ground. A Japanese aircraft dropped bombs and completely destroyed the entire village. When Allison stepped out of their hiding place, he saw that the houses which once stood there were now reduced to rubble, including the raft they had just built. All of their food supplies had burned to ash. The situation grew even more desperate. Not long after, several Japanese ships arrived and deployed troops onto the beach. They set up tents and turned the island into a temporary base. The situation now became extremely dangerous. A single mistake could get them caught. Allison told Anila to stay hidden inside the cave while he went out to search for food. Japanese soldiers began patrolling the forest area, but fortunately, they did not discover the cave where Allison and Anila were hiding. The next day, Allison took the risk of going to the shoreline to catch fish. When he was on his way back, he saw the beam of a flashlight in the distance, a sign that Japanese troops were patrolling the area. Without thinking twice, he dove underwater and hid behind the waves until the scouting boat finally moved away. Once the area was safe, he returned to the cave with several fish in his hands. When Anila saw the raw fish, she looked hesitant. She couldn't bring herself to eat it because the smell was too strong. Allison tried to convince her that it was the only way they could survive, but Anila was only able to take a small bite before giving up. Her body began to weaken from hunger, which made Allison extremely worried. In desperation, he decided to take the most dangerous risk of all, sneaking into the Japanese camp to search for food. That night, he covered his body with mud to avoid being seen, then crawled slowly through the trees. He moved carefully through the darkness, waiting for the right moment to make his move. When the night grew darker and some of the Japanese soldiers began to fall asleep, Allison finally saw his chance. With slow and careful movements, he crawled toward one of the tents in the darkness, holding his breath so he wouldn't make the slightest sound. Once inside, he managed to gather some food, and among the belongings left behind, he found a small comb. Without hesitation, he took it and brought it back, not as a simple object, but as a humble gift for Anila, a small gesture of care in the midst of hardship and danger surrounding them. The next morning, Allison planned to surprise her. He arranged a few flowers on a rock, placed the comb beside them, and then hid behind the stones to watch Anila's reaction. When the nun discovered the flowers and the comb, she looked touched. However, she gently explained that she could not use the comb because from the moment she began her life as a nun, her hair had been cut very short, just like other novices. Realizing that the gift would be of no use, Allison simply asked her to throw it away.
Cherish it always.
Even so, Anila still smiled softly, showing that she appreciated the sincerity behind the gift. From that moment on, it became clear that Allison could no longer hide his feelings. He had fallen in love with a woman he had always seen as a symbol of purity and goodness. Courage began to grow inside him. One day, he finally gathered the strength to ask Anila whether she had ever thought about leaving her religious life and living as an ordinary woman, perhaps getting married and having a family. But Anila looked at him with the same calmness as always. She explained that the vows she had taken were not just promises, but sacred oaths made to God. She made it clear that the love in her heart was only for God, not for a man like Allison. Hearing those words, Allison's heart felt shattered. Yet somewhere within him, a small piece of hope still remained. Hope that one day Anila might change her mind.
At that moment, a loud explosion shook the forest around them. The ground trembled violently and the sound of gunfire echoed in the distance. Allison immediately rushed out of the cave and saw the sky filled with smoke and flashes of light from a battle at sea. American warships were fighting against the Japanese fleet in the Pacific waters. When the explosions finally began to fade, Allison moved toward the area where the Japanese troops had previously made their camp. He was shocked to find that they had abandoned the island in a hurry. He quickly called for Anila, and together they inspected the site. There, they discovered plenty of food supplies and equipment left behind. For Allison, this was a rare chance to secure everything they needed to survive. With renewed energy, they carried the supplies to one of the former Japanese shelters, and for the first time in a long while, they were able to breathe in relief. That night, the two of them sang and danced joyfully, as if they wanted to forget for a moment all the suffering they had endured. As the sun began to set, Allison hummed softly while Anila peacefully continued her sewing beside him. The atmosphere felt warm and comforting until Allison could no longer hold back his feelings. He approached Anila and, in a gentle voice, asked what she would do if one day they were rescued and returned to the United States. With the same sincerity as always, Anila replied that she would return to the convent, finish her studies, and continue her service to God. Her answer broke Allison's heart once again. He lowered his gaze for a moment, then honestly expressed his desire to marry her, to build a life together and have a child.
I never even lived before. Not really.
Anila fell silent for a moment, then looked at him with teary eyes. She admitted that she was touched by Allison's sincerity, but she could not give him false hope. With a calm voice, she explained that her love had been completely dedicated to God. Showing the ring on her finger, she told him that it symbolized her vow of faithfulness to her Creator. And once she completed her period of formation, the ring would be replaced with a gold band as a lifelong sign of commitment. Allison said nothing as he listened to her explanation. He tried to hold back his sadness, then pretended he needed to check the shoreline so he could hide his feelings.
Fix that lean-to for you.
Meanwhile, Anila sat in silence. Her eyes stared blankly toward the ocean. She herself carried feelings she could never admit. In her heart, she admired Allison's courage and kindness, but she knew that allowing those feelings to grow would mean betraying her calling in life.
That ain't fair to his family or the Corps. One of them's got to get the short end.
Certainly, Mr. Allison.
Night grew deeper, and silence wrapped around the old house that had once been occupied by the Japanese soldiers. While they were preparing food, Anila found a bottle of liquor among the supplies. When she opened it, its distinctive aroma quickly filled the air. Allison explained that it was sake, a traditional Japanese drink similar to wine. He invited her to try it, but Anila refused once she learned that the drink contained alcohol.
The apple tree with anyone else but me. Anyone else?
Night.
Caught between confusion and the weight of unspoken feelings, Allison eventually drank the sake by himself. Anila tried to stop him, but it was already too late. A short while later, the alcohol began affecting his mind. He spoke with an uncontrolled tone, saying things that offended and frightened Anila.
At this very minute!
Feeling hurt and disappointed, Anila ran out of the house, pushing through the heavy rain and the darkness of the night. Realizing his mistake, Allison immediately went after her. He found her collapsed on the ground, her body weak and trembling from the cold. In a panic, Allison carried her back to the cave and lit a small fire to warm her body. With no other choice, he removed his own shirt and wrapped it around Anila's body to keep her from freezing. The next day, things became even more difficult. The Japanese troops returned to the island while Anila was still bedridden with a fever. With unwavering determination, Allison snuck into the camp at night to search for blankets and food. But this time, he was nearly caught. A Japanese soldier spotted him, but Allison managed to overpower the soldier and hide the body among the rocks. He then returned to the cave with the supplies. When Anila regained consciousness, she was startled to find herself lying on nothing but a blanket. Allison quickly explained what had happened and apologized sincerely.
Deserve no thanks. My fault you got sick.
He might.
But the danger was not over. Realizing that one of their soldiers was missing, the Japanese troops began a massive search operation. They burned parts of the forest and inspected every corner of the island. Meanwhile, inside the cave, Anila could only pray with deep devotion, asking that they would not be found. A miracle happened. They managed to remain hidden. Not long after, the sky filled with the sound of fighter planes that arrived to bombard the Japanese positions.
Look at him! Would anyone else but me? Would anyone else but me? Would any...
Seeing this, Allison cheered with joy, for he knew that the war was nearly over and their rescue was getting closer. With the enemy now retreating, the two of them were finally able to breathe in relief. But before their parting came, Allison once again revealed his feelings for the last time. He pleaded for Anila to marry him and start a new life together after the war. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Anila looked at him and said that she cared for Allison, but that such love was not hers to claim. She had given her entire heart to God, and that vow was not something she would ever break. Hearing her answer, Allison could only accept it quietly. In a moment of despair mixed with courage, he decided to return to the battle. He launched an attack on the remaining Japanese artillery on the island. Although his shoulder was wounded by the explosion, he managed to destroy the weapon, ensuring that there would be no more casualties on the American side. Not long after, American forces landed on the island and rescued the two of them. After the war ended, Anila was sent back to Fiji and then returned to her home country to continue her religious life. Meanwhile, Allison continued his service until the end of the Pacific War. The moral lesson of this story is that true love does not always have to end with being together. Sometimes the purest form of love is shown through the ability to let go and respect the choices of the one we love. The story of Allison and Sister Anila teaches us that sincerity, sacrifice, and faith can grow even in the darkest of circumstances. In a war filled with suffering, they discovered the true meaning of devotion and compassion. From them, we learn that true love is not merely about possession, but about giving without conditions, caring without demanding, and accepting with an open heart, knowing that some love is meant to be cherished, not owned. And that concludes today's video. What do you think about this film? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thank you so much for watching until the end. See you next time, and goodbye.